Hey everybody, how are you? Happy Thursday. So glad to have you joining. And as you join, as always, let me know, are you watching this video team live? Love to have you team live. Or if you're watching team replay, let me know. I love to connect with you and see what you're enjoying. So first question for you today is, what is your favorite way to wear your hair if it's not freshly cleaned? We'll say it's not freshly clean. Maybe it's a little dirty. And I want to know, comment below, what is your favorite way to wear your hair when it's not freshly cleaned? So for me, two things. I love to do a little side braid. So obviously my hair is not freshly cleaned, so there you go. And number two, I did a little dry shampoo side braid, but it's really easy, pulled back. And then number two is a hat. I love to wear hats and put that on when I am just not feeling like doing the hairs today. So I'd love to know what you love to do. So jumping on here today to talk about nut butters. What is the healthiest nut butter? There's so many options in the grocery store now. Like you go on the shelves, there's so many different things. There's all this, so many, it's overwhelming, right? So ranking nut butter. So generally speaking, when we're saying nut butter, so yes, there's legumes, there's seeds, there's nuts, there's different varieties. And ranking them is kind of like saying ranking veggies. Hey Marissa, good to have you. So it's kind of similar to ranking veggies. They all can be good options. It really depends on what you value. And that's what I want you to look at through this conversation is what do you value, and that's how you make your choices. So generally, nut butters are a great source of variety in healthy fats, protein, fiber. They're very satiating. They have a great source of vitamins such as vitamin E, but B vitamins, vitamin E, and then minerals like iron, zinc, potassium, magnesium. So generally speaking, most of the nut butters are going to contain all those components. The biggest thing is how much they have in them is going to vary maybe like a little bit. So again, what do you value in a peanut butter or a nut butter? Comment below. What do you value? Do you value, these are the options, taste, texture, food allergy, so maybe someone in your house has a food allergy, cost, or nutritional composition. What do you really value when you're looking at a product like that? So that's the first thing you want to consider. When it comes to peanut butters, the FDA regulates that all peanut butter, if they're named peanut butter on the label, 90% of the product needs to come from peanuts, the whole peanut source. 10% of the product can be stabilizers and flavors, seasoning. So things like salt, sugar, emulsifiers, things that are binding it together to keep it stable. If something has less than 90% peanuts, it's going to be called a peanut butter spread. So it's literally just less peanuts altogether. And then the biggest difference that we see is with like natural peanut butter, reduced fat peanut butter. Those are like the different things we're seeing. First of all, you do not need to buy reduced fat peanut butter. And I was talking to a client about this before, and when my clients start with me, they do a food journal, so I'm kind of looking at what they're having and giving them feedback around that. And she was doing low-fat peanut butter, and I was like, why are you doing low-fat peanut butter? She's like, well, I thought it was healthy, and she was trying to lose weight. She's like, well, it's lower in fat, so it's gonna help me lose weight. So awareness. First, if you look at nutrition labels, start looking at nutrition labels of your foods. And low-fat peanut butter, I think it was like Skippy or something, is going to actually be very similar calories than regular peanut butter. It's like 180 calories versus 190. It has 5 grams less fat, but it has a bunch of added stuff in it. So it's going to have more carbs because it's going to have corn syrup in it. And really the nutritional profile is not helpful. So look at the ingredients of the food first. Their ingredients are listed by weight. So the first few ingredients are going to be the most of that food source. If you look at low-fat peanut butter, for example, it's peanuts. The second ingredient is corn syrup, and then it's going to be mostly, I think it's like hydrogenated oils, and that's going to be what binds it together. And then there's a lot of added stuff in it as well. So not necessary to buy that, first of all. The next thing is natural peanut butter. So what does natural peanut butter mean? So essentially this means that it contains just peanuts and salt, and sometimes it doesn't even contain salt. So natural peanut butter is going to have fewer ingredients, and it's going to be mostly that whole food source. So it's less processing, and it's mainly the original source. The biggest difference is stirring, right? This is the biggest thing. Well, I hate natural peanut butter because it naturally separates, right, with the oil on top. Conventional peanut butter is going to have more stabilizers added to it to prevent the separation, the natural separation that happens, and it may have more salt and sugar added to it as well. Now, so if you're looking at like a natural peanut butter, it's going to be roasted peanuts and salt. And then like Skippy and Jif, I think they have their own natural peanut butter. What sometimes you're going to see added to them is palm oil. So this is still considered a natural peanut butter. Why? So palm oil, what is it? It's a natural stable oil. It has about 50% saturated fat. So naturally, saturated fats are going to be more, They're going to be more semi-solid at room temperature. So naturally, when you add that to separating peanut butter, it's going to keep it more congruent. It's going to keep it together. And so they're going to add that. They add a very small amount of it to the peanut butter. It's really not significant, and it's adding like 1 gram of saturated fat to that product. So what do you value in a nut butter as we come back to that question? If you value the not having to stir it and you want that one consistency, maybe choosing a natural peanut butter with the palm oil in it to have that one texture and ready to go, maybe that's a good option for you. And then additionally, if you like having the natural peanut butter regular, I have some tips and tricks of how you can decrease the separation. So you can store the peanut butter upside down and before you open it. So this way the oil is actually going to go to the top and it's going to stir. So it's maybe less of that like really stirring it. You should be able to just have to stir it once you open it and it should stay relatively together. You could also refrigerate it or I don't think it's necessary to use a food processor or anything, but that could be an option. And then when it comes to other nut butter, so like almond butter, sunflower butter, cashew butter, there's so many varieties. Right now in our current house, we have Nature's Promise, was like a natural peanut butter from Hannaford. We have sunflower butter, we have almond butter. My mom really likes these two. I typically just do the natural peanut butter. Sometimes it's nice to have different flavor options in terms of nutritional profile with these different nut butters. It's very minimal, the difference in nutrients. So they're going to be very similar in calories, in fat, in protein, in fiber, and carbs. A little bit more, a pinch higher fat, I think, in almond butter than in peanut butter. So there's a little bit more monounsaturated, which is a healthy fat. Vitamin E. Sunflower butter, why would you choose sunflower butter? So the biggest reason you would choose sunflower butter is if you have someone in your house with a food allergy, this can be a great option to give them a nut butter spread. And otherwise, in terms of nutrition profile, it actually has 10 more calories than peanut butter is 200 calories. And this one actually, so roasted sunflower seeds, sugar, mono and diglycerides, and salt. That's going to be an emulsifier to keep it in one texture. That's the main reason I would get sunflower butter. It's not really healthier per se. Cashew butter is going to be a little bit more naturally sweet. So if you like that option, it's going to be a little naturally sweet. But it's actually going to be less protein. In cashew butter, I think it's 4 grams of protein versus 7 grams of protein in like an almond or peanut butter. And it's going to have a little bit less fiber in it. It's also going to be a lot more expensive. So like almond butter, cashew butter, all those other nut butters are going to be higher cost points. If you like some of those more quality nut butters, Justin butter, some of those really nice brands, if you can afford those and you enjoy those, amazing, like go for it. There isn't like, if that's what you enjoy, for sure the best thing. The main takeaway that I want you to get from this though is 2 things: serving size, portion size, and pairing it with another food. So when you're having peanut butter, the biggest thing I see, so it has mostly fat. So peanut butter is going to be mostly fat. We think it's like a really high protein source. And yeah, there's going to be naturally protein and carbs in legumes and nuts and seeds. But it's going to bring mostly fat heavy to the table. And therefore, it's going to bring more calories. So it's more nutrient dense that way. And we have to focus on the serving size. So a serving is going to be like a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons. This is a tablespoon. And you don't have to measure it perfectly every time, but if you're learning what a serving looks like of a tablespoon, measure it out and then spread it or add it to whatever you're doing. If it's like, oh my God, it sticks to the tablespoon, it's such a mess, what you could do here is actually run it under warm water. So it's giving you that barrier there, and it's gonna prevent some of that stickiness. You could also like put it in oil, but I don't think it's really necessary. The hot water works really well. So that's an option. And then also with nut butters and peanut butters, pair it with something else. If you're just like eating it out of the jar, it's way easier to overeat this food, right? This is what I hear a lot. It's so easy to overeat that. It's also probably gonna be easier to overeat if there's a lot of added sugar and flavors to it, because it's really highly palatable, right? Fat and sugar, these things taste good, and it's easy to eat a lot of it. So if you pair it with another food, you don't need as much, and you're gonna be more satisfied. So this is gonna be a higher fat source. Pair it with a carbohydrate and a protein option. So maybe this is gonna be a piece of toast and a yogurt, or pairing it with a piece of fruit like an apple, peanut butter, or adding a tablespoon to your oatmeal, or adding it to a smoothie. So that way you're pairing these foods together. You'll need less of the peanut butter, and you're gonna be more satisfied with less of that option. So like for me, I'll do peanut butter like a tablespoon with my oatmeal in the morning, and then I may do like another tablespoon later in the afternoon as a snack with like rice cake and cottage cheese is like something that I'll do. So biggest thing, portion size and pairing with another food. Other than that, like what I went back to in the beginning, what do you value most? And that is what you can decide between. If you have, different people in your household that value different things, then you may have a lot of peanut butter in your house. So, or nut butters or varieties. So those are my main takeaways. And let me know, do you guys have any other questions about what is helpful or what is overwhelming with nut butters? Comment below. I'd love to know, answer your questions. Thank you guys so much for joining. Marissa, hey Jackie, good to see you jumping on. And I will talk to you guys soon. Have a great night.